Hi, name's Eric. I work here at OFA. Much like you, I was a certified OFA member for about a dozen years before I had the honor of joining the staff. We wear two hats here. I work for the education side, and as Jesse said, we are a certification agent too. That's OFA certification. So the national standard says that you're regulatory accredited agent can't provide advice or consultation. Our board of directors is still majority certified farmers, and we're not going to leave any of our producers to the wolves per se. We're going to have support for you, and that's why they fund the education side. We do a variety of things here, including an annual conference that's coming up here February 10th through 15th, as well as provide those direct technical assistance for transition and all the way through certification process. So here's kind of an outline of what we're going to be getting into today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the USDA, OFA certification, a little bit into the two scopes that are most pertinent to you. Go, again, 100-foot view of the certification process. We only got 45 minutes here, so I definitely want to save time for your questions. As producers, handlers, materials are important, and I appreciate Eileen speaking about some of the rigor of her review of substances, making sure it's properly labeled, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But we get in it in organic as a business decision, so we're going to talk about some of the business aspects, and then again follow up with how we can support you. So hey. First, ascertain, are you ready? The 3-year, 36 months removed from a prohibited substance. Not so much of a pressure in a woodlot, but we are a flat fee organization. We don't charge you by acre, so we need, if you so desire, all aspects of your management scale of your operation can be certified under the same certificate as long as it's under your direct management. So yeah, I encourage you to do your due diligence. Get out there and choose your certification agency wisely. Not all have the same business models. So yeah, take a look at expertise, sustainability, reputation. And again, I'm honored to be working with OFA. We got our start in 1979. We helped establish the organic standards here in Ohio and was very direct in comments with the national standards when they were coming in the 90s. And then again, nothing happens in organic unless it's documented. So if you're going in, use those transition years wisely to develop your record keeping system. And we can help with that. Again, we're not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but we can provide templates that you can cater to the unique nature and site specific native to place issues that you deal with. So yeah, we all got together back in 1990 under the Organic Food Production Act. And lo, those 10 years later, they actually got into writing what we know as the national standards. Yeah, implemented, came fully online in 2002. So we are still a nascently developing industry. It is a voluntary program. We choose to be regulated under this rule. It's one of the few federal laws that came by choice. And there are indeed 4 scopes. Your production, all the crops, areas of production, things like that, anything that's produced. You have a livestock scope, and then also a handling scope. If you do any sort of processing, and there is fully regulated and defined in the rule. And then there's wild crafting and crops that just you naturally harvest. And there is a case to be made that a maple tree could fall into that, but because it's mostly a packaged product, we deal with it more under production and handling and stay within those 2 scopes. So we'll be focusing mostly on those scopes today. There are many ACAs out there to choose from. We want to be your hometown team. Michigan doesn't have a native certification agency, so you have your choice. There are many agencies serve the Midwest. I like to think that we're properly placed in the market, but you will make those business decisions for you. And much like you getting audited and inspected every year, yes, we do too. And every 3 years, we have a full, vigorous on-site review of which they go and shadow inspections, pull, watch how we pull our pesticide and residue samples, and just, it's pretty rigorous. And that is not a flat fee, by the way. So anyway, organic is about a system. It's a management program, and it's not just substituting what was happening in conventionally with approved organic inputs. We look at things holistically. Embedded in the rule is a concept of continuous improvement. We don't expect you to be an expert coming out of the gate, but you do need to maintain the integrity of that label and be part of our community that upholds that for every other producer. Corrective actions are common, but lack of correcting those concerns can be a severe mistake. So anyway, it's all about prevention, getting out in front of problems, sanitizing your lines so those yeasts don't build up and bacterias, as opposed to just using a proof sanitizer right before you start up. Anyway, it's a system, and we want to help cater your systems to be successful within the organic program, and we see it as a partnership. Again, documentation. If it's not documented, it doesn't happen. So record keeping, you can't manage what you don't monitor. I found as an organic certified operator that these records actually helped improve my business. But we could chase our tail keeping records, So for me, it has to be viable interest or information. There has to be a good reason why I'm keeping it. For me, I need to capture it in real time at the point of contact. And then it has to be accountability. I'm sure I'm not speaking to proprietors out there that are the sole operator. You have to work a crew in some of our efforts. So accountability is also important for me in my record keeping. So, hey, what is the rule? 7 CFR 203. As we said, it was published back in 2002 or fully implemented, and it is what the standards are, fully regulated. And you hear that some people may be exempt from certification. They can use the organic label if they're less than a $5,000 threshold. But yeah, the fine print on that is they're exempt from subpart E. So if they are still using the organic claim in marketing in any way, they still have to have all the documentation that you're required of, production records, field histories, an organic systems plan, and like I said, the documents need to be there if they're using the O word. It's just, to me, more cost effective and simple to have a third-party auditor come in and verify my compliance. So generally, the early 100s talk about the record keeping, and it pretty much comes down to it just needs to be readily auditable. As an inspector, if I come in, I ask you for a document to verify or provide evidence of your claims, then you just need to produce it. So yeah, must be readily auditable, and you need to maintain your records for a 5-year period. And it really does sometimes come down to the organic. We talk about being a systems approach, but how do we do things holistically? But a lot of that is the negative, don't do this. So yeah, allowed and prohibited substances are fully codified in the rule, and we'll get to those 600s a little bit later. But yeah, there's a lot of no-nos, no prohibited. So generally, synthetic substances are not approved, and anything of a natural origin would be. And again, there are things in the national list that we'll get to, but the big three, GMOs, ionizing radiation, and sewage sludge, they were part of the original rule. And thanks to our community getting out there and vocalizing what their perspectives are, yeah, we pushed back during the comment period of the NOP, and we got those three as prohibited practices. So pretty easy for a woodlot, a forest. Not too many people out there spraying prohibited substances. But again, you need to be 36 months removed from the application of any prohibited, and you need to have production areas defined. distinct boundaries. If there's a potential for contamination, the buffer needs to be on your property. How fertility is managed is fully regulated under the rule, as is any raw manure for direct contact food. And then again, we want an audit trail. We want to be able to trace back a product from point of sale at end user clear back to the point of production and every step through the line. So yeah, the handling standards. We want to fully understand how that product is assembled and manufactured, proper labeling within the context of the rule. Pest management is a strong possible candidate for any commingling or contamination. So we look in facilities and handling operations really closely at how they manage their pest control. And then we're always looking to make sure we're preventing any sort of contamination. So yeah, that all falls into some of the 200s. You're required, and there's a laundry list of things. If you're processing, repacking, combining products intended for sale. So what does packaging mean? You're not going to hand, you have to put it in a bottle, right? Maple syrup. So that's why we need to understand that processing line that gets it into the bottle. And that's why we will ask you to fill out an organic system plan for handling, in addition to the organic systems plan for your production. If you are not pulling sap and you're purchasing sap like Eileen for her maple sugar, then she wouldn't need a producer's certificate. She'd only need the scope of the handling. So we look very closely at pest management. And again, we need to prevent any commingling of substances. So yes, everything is fully regulated. This is a federal rule. So there's 3 tiers: the 100% organic, and maple syrup can be that. I mean, Eileen mentioned some of the processing aids that do not get accounted for in composition. So 100% maple syrup is, I see that quite often. Organic is anything less than 95% ingredient, fully organic. And then made with is a claim that you have with the 70% and above to 90%. And it just has to have a very specific made with claim on the principal display panel. Like I say, now we're getting into labeling requirements. This, in bottom line, is a marketing law. It's how things can be represented in the marketplace. So we're going to really tease into your label, and it is fully defined to the size of font and where it's located on those labels and in what order. So yeah, we want to help you with that. We don't expect you to be, teasing through these rules trying to figure it out. We have fact sheets, templates available, and we want to review your draft of your label before you go to the expense of printing. So yes, we do see this as this process as a partnership. There's a strong role for the producer. There's a strong role for the inspector. There's a strong role for our certification agency. And we need an educated market. We need educated consumers. And that's some of the work that we do here on the education side, is try to promote your products and increase the understanding of the marketplace to value the premium that you provide with your products. So yeah, it's pretty simple, 5 steps. It's all simple, really. No, you would need to fill out an application, and our application meets the definition of an organic systems plan under the federal rule. And again, we here on the education side can help. We have a transition specialist dedicated to such things, Julia Barton. I'm here to help in the transition process too. And we have a beginning farmer educator with that program, Rachel Kays, and she does a lot of organic system plan work. So we have many qualified staff to assist you, but also our partners with the NRCS has a CAP, Conservation Action Plan 138, where you can go through their technical services providers to help you define a transition plan and get an organic systems plan in place. So we're just a little bit quicker, get it done by deadline, things like that. And then, after you have your complete and accurate organic systems plan presented, it gets reviewed by our staff, gets put out to an inspection. When the inspector brings the report back, that is harmonized with your OSP, and then it's sent to senior staff for a certification decision. So yes, we need you to complete a plan for each scope. It fully defines everything listed under these rules. Management practices, how you will monitor, record keeping, inputs. Yeah, the field down to the acreage, the number of crops with estimated yield, everything that is in your under your management. It doesn't, not just your organic management, but anything that's in transition and any conventional products that you have under production, especially if there's parallel production. If you're doing both organic and conventional maple syrup, we need to see the records on both sides. We do a mass balance analysis at the end of the inspection, and it's important that those do balance. So yes, we want to help with you making sure that this is complete before you send it in. Don't ever hesitate to call, because you can imagine trying to capture every eventuality on any type of farm within 22 pages could be a little challenging. So it may not apply to you. Odds are somewhere. We want to help with that. Go through it, get what you can down, but definitely give us a call. We pride ourselves on answering phones. You don't have to go through a phone bank, and we'll work with you. Eric, on page 7, what are you asking for? Or, hey, this is what I put in. Is that what you're asking for? Yeah, we just want you to be fully complete and accurate when you submit it. That's where time gets saved, especially for first-year operators. And when it comes in, that's what our certification staff is going to look for. They're going to look for any of those missing puzzle pieces. And then that's where they got to send a letter and say, hey, could you submit this? Would you give me an idea of what your label is? We're missing a flow chart, or whatever the issue is. Deal with us educators prior to submission, and we'll make sure it's complete. And again, all this is confidential. All staff has to annually sign a confidentiality agreement. Here on education side, if once you're certified, you need assistance in a corrective action or non-compliance, I cannot just go up there and pull your file. You have to grant me access to it. I file a paper with certification staff that allows me to essentially, as a consultant, assist you with whatever issue we're trying to correct. The inspector does a report, and we try to tie up loose ends, or at this point, they're flagging things that they just want the inspector to hone in on. So yeah, the inspector, the eyes and ears of the operation. I say that as an inspector, I do 3 things. I'm not the organic police. I verify that the information you provided on that OSP is accurate on the ground. I ground truth that OSP. I can clarify the information on that OSP. Oh yeah, when I read it, I was thinking this, but now that I see it, I'm thinking we may be able to describe this a little bit more efficiently and accurately. So I can help, as an inspector, the operator clarify the information on their OSP. Efficiency is what we're about. And then I'm going to write a report. I verify, I can clarify, and I will report on my observations. I do not make any judgments. I do not make any decisions, and I am prohibited by the rule from providing any advice or consultation. I need to be fully objective. And now we come to the judge. Post-inspection review. Our certification staff, they're going through these files, and they come in, they get a timestamp, and they get put in the queue. And when a certification specialist drops one off, they pull the front of the line. So odds are, every year, when you go through our certification process, 3 different sets of eyes are going to be looking at yours and assessing that organic systems plan. That's our internal check and balance. So odds are what they are. You may get the same person doing a pre-inspection that will also pull the file for a post-inspection, but those odds aren't strong. It could happen, but odds are it's going to be someone different. And if things are missing, that were uncovered by the inspector, anything there, that's where we're going to come this up. And if there's something glaring that needs to be corrected prior to issuing a certificate, that's where this will happen. We need to get that information back. This is where I deal with a lot of my producers. They get, when the inspector leaves, they're going to give you an exit interview talking about things that you should already understand, but they're giving you kind of like an outline of what's going to be included in the full report. So right before Christmas, I had someone give me a call about their rotation because their inspector flagged it at the exit interview. So the inspector hadn't even got the inspection report in, but I was already dealing with a questionable rotation so that when it did hit, he already had his corrective action in place, and that sped his first year certification. So again, we want to help with that. We want to make you or help you be successful, and that's what Education Side's here for you. So they're going to harmonize the inspector and report and your organic systems plan, and then forwarded that to our senior staff. There's only 7 people that can have the authority for final sign-off. And that's where it goes to the next step, certification decision. Yeah, at that point, it's pretty much we've dealt with any issues, and odds are that you'll be getting your certificate. But sometimes those certificates come with a corrective action. Hey, by the time of your next inspection, we would like this improvement. Or, all right, we're going to give you the inspection right here, but this is a proposed non-compliance. If you follow the plan that you have in place into that next year, we're going to want to see a correction of that before you implement it. You know, there's different ways they can do it. There's a lot of latitude. I like to say that there's, even though this is a federal law and it's here to level the playing field, there's a lot of gray area in here of interpretation that falls on the agencies. And OFA, for example, we don't have the capacity, and there's no corresponding regulations to talk about hydroponic vegetable production. So we won't certify it. But there's a number of certifications out there that will give you an organic certificate for hydroponic vegetable production. So again, what's our expertise? We're here as an agency to regulate the established rule. And if there aren't standards talking about that kind of production, then we're not going to extend our purview. So there it is. This is it. This is public information. So there's certain things that are required: the name of your operation, your physical location, anniversary dates, the crops that you have that are certified, the amount of production, acreage involved. That's, again, required by law. And then this is also searchable on the Organic Integrity database. Just Google organic integrity. Every 7,000 certified operations are listed there, and their status: certified, oh, under suspension, oh, revoked. You know, so yes, this is, and it's always funny when I get those emails of people trying to sell me this list. Hey, would you like to know where every certified producer is in Michigan? Yeah, I know where they are. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the certificate. Make it work for you. And you know, hey, renewal. Continue. You are required by the law to submit an annual update to your organic systems plan. Like I said, our system is 22 pages. But after you have your complete section, you know, the OSP on file, it's only the things that change in each year. The first 6 pages that you need to update annually. Inputs, things that you purchase, sales records, acreage planted, rotations, field histories. Not everything changes. There's a lot of base to your operation, but those that do, and we've been able to capture that on just 6 pages. So renewal isn't as painful as the first time through because it's all new. And again, your records need to be readily auditable, and we can help with that too. Um, so for us, as processors, handlers, a lot of it comes down to materials. Yeah, I use a lot of periacetic acid across my various production areas and hydrogen peroxide too. Um, but yeah, again, typically non-synthetics are allowed, synthetics are prohibited. The big three, you can find all this stuff in the rules, but we also, because we've been in the game for a while, we found it valuable for OFA certification to have its own internal material review department, because we're about building community. So if you've got a neighbor that's making compost, yeah, I don't need to have it trucked in from Vermont or Dairy Do. I can verify its compliance with the rule, save myself a little bit on trucking. So our department works with the manufacturers. So, but we only do that as a courtesy to our clients. So if you have a product you would like to use that you think is certified, hey, give us a call. We'll open it. But we do not do that for the manufacturer. That's what OMRI is about, the Organic Material Review Institute. So yeah, we need to, on any inputs, we review the label. So I mentioned the national list here in the 600s. 205, 600. So 600 is the evaluation criteria. 601 is the synthetic substances allowed for use in crop production. 602 is the non-synthetic substances that are prohibited for use in crop production. 603 is those synthetic substances allowed for livestock. And then the 04 is the non-synthetic substances prohibited for livestock production. And then 605 gets into the non-agricultural substances allowed as ingredients. And yeah, you're going to have to read that for yourself because that's like 4 pages. So yes, when we're looking at inputs, we have a lot of partners out there helping us, but you know, things are mostly generic, listed in the standards, but I encourage you to read those. Again, we want to make sure it's labeled for this use. And again, this is what happens in that pre-inspection review. We check your ingredients to this teased out list. So yeah, here are some of our partners. We accept all accredited agencies must accept the determination of OMRI, the Organic Material Review Institute. If it has that OMRI label on it, it's approved. Because we've worked with Washington Department, State of Agriculture, California, and US EPA, we believe in the rigor of their review process. So we accept their determinations. If it has their label, it's approved for use on OFA farms. But we can only make these things for determinations for our clients. So as a producer, you'll be receiving our book, the OFA certification approved products for producers. But the materials that are in this book have not been reviewed by anybody else on this list. That's why we're willing to do it. It's not duplicating the effort. And we can only make that determination for our 1,500 members. We can't make that for anybody else's. Even though Washington State accepts our determinations too, you know, we have that reciprocity. But yeah, OMRI is your golden list. Any product there, and there's thousands of them. If it's got the label, good for use. And as we talk about periacetic acid and things like that, you would find that in a generic list. But if you're looking for, you know, pyrethrins or the pyganic, yeah, you'd have to find the brand name in the products list. So again, this is a partnership. What is the certifier responsibility? We are required to verify every input is compliant and approved under the National Organic Standard. And we need to maintain our rationale for our decision-making process. Why did we choose not to certify hydroponic crops? We had to make our case in front of the USDA for that. And what is your responsibility? Again, full disclosure, I found that long ago. The more information I put on my organic systems plan, that allows the inspector to answer their own questions before they're standing on the farm, taking my time, asking me something that I thought was pretty clear. So yeah, I'm all about full disclosure. So anything that I could possibly think of using on my farm is on my input list. Many of those things I haven't used in years, but they're still there if they're necessary. I don't know what's coming down the pike. I'm writing this plan in January and February. When I'm standing there looking at this pest infestation in July, I don't have time to get an approval for the Pyganic per se. A lot of products are approved. Oh yeah, you can use that, but they're restricted. They're very narrow use. You know, some of the acids that I use to adjust pH in my irrigation line have a restriction that can only be used to lower the pH if I'm using a fish product. So even though it's the water that has the high pH, I have to become compliant to lower that pH by injecting a fertility agent in there with it. Again, we're bound by the rule. We find our way. There are gray areas, but we got to make it work for our operation. And we're here to help. That's why education is here. We don't expect you to know the ins and outs of the law and the rule, but between the education staff here, we can try to find something that's going to help, you know, carve that peg to fit the hole. And again, you need to be fully disclosing. You know, when we send you a letter, please open it. Please read it. Please respond to it. Right now, I'm dealing with a proposed suspension because he ignored 5 letters that started off in May of this year. By the time we got to just December, they're like, hey, look, we got it. You haven't. All right. So yes, please call us if there's any questions about any of the correspondence you receive from certification. Call the education side. We're here to help. We'll help interpret it. We'll help find out any more clarity because we got almost 1,500 farms out there, and there's 1,500 ways of looking at things sometimes. And there, you know, we regulate the rule for the USDA, and we will hold the integrity for all the operators. I know that I have a lot of value in my certificate, and I want to feel and believe that the other organic producers have that same value, and they want to uphold the integrity of it. But, you know, things happen. Welcome to life. Life's middle name. If I get everything right, you know, odds are not. So, hey, thank you, USDA. Here's our path out of the woods. And again, education side's here to help. Any non-compliance, any corrective action. And the only reason I'm sitting here today feeling that I can help you is I've literally been on 1,000 farms. I was one of the first USDA under this organic plan inspection certified through IOIA back in 2002. So I know that we as producers, we face the same challenges, but you organic farmers are freaking clever. You know, we all have the same challenges, but we go after it a little bit different, native to our place. That this model is successful for me in this ecosystem. May not be cookie cutter successful in another one, but because I've seen various ways of looking at the same problem, that's where I feel that I can help focus what you bring to the table. Oh yeah, Eric, yeah, I tried that, it didn't work. Well, hey, what about this other option? Oh, well, tell us more about that. So yeah, we're here to help, but we want to get out in front of it. Preventative practices, maintaining compliance is a lot easier than reestablishing compliance. So yeah, answer those letters, open them up. And if you're confused, give us a call. But you're getting a premium, so there are direct costs involved. Like I say, OFA, we have a flat fee. We charge an out-of-state fee for you Michiganders. This year we had to raise our fees. Heck, dude, COVID hit everybody kind of hard, so we had to raise fees across the board, $200. So yeah, you'd be looking at a 1,250 for the production scope if you're tapping trees, and then an additional $250 handling scope, and you would have two of those organic systems plans to submit. Um, but yeah, hey, those fee structures vary between certifies. So do your due diligence, do your comparison shopping. Most folks, some of the folks that are near us, they do it as a percentage of your production. So yeah, Eileen, if she isn't a producer, her fee schedule as just a handler would be tied to that administration fee, and then the inspection fee would be separate. So yeah, we got to carve the peg to fit the hole. But for producers, we try to keep things as flat so that going in your business plan and your budget that this is the fees that you're going to get, and we're out the door. But then again, you got a lot of purchase price consumables. And if you have to go through a 3-year transition period, you got to budget that into your greater plan as well. And then, of course, there's indirect costs to organic operations. You got to go through this process. Like I say, that inspector is going to stand there and suck your time up while he's walking you through every step of your operation. That's why I give them as much information as possible, so that doesn't take as much as my time as only as much time as necessary. And in record keeping, man, like I say, I used to start with a calendar. Yeah, all my records are on this calendar. Yeah, it didn't work. It worked for a minute. And then I had to improve, continuous improvement. And then, when you get to a certain scale, now you're electronic record keeping. And there's many a widget out there that you can purchase. I know that I like QuickBooks, Fearless Farm Financing. That's helped me a good deal in the business end of my game. So there are challenges involved too. There's a 3-year transition period. If you're dealing with conventional fallout, you are going to have less tools to work with. And of course, we're a nascently developing business. I like to say we're the 2% of the 2%. Farmers out there in the world, they're about 2% of our population, while the organic farmer is even smaller than that. So USDA, dude, think about the billions of dollars they put into that green revolution research. And what do we get? Yeah, that's why we need you to be active in the farm bill when it comes around and get our end of the game. And then the cost share, I kind of bounced over that on the earlier slide, but yeah, hey, our organic cost share program was fully funded through 2023 at the 75% reimbursement rate. The last administration just arbitrarily in August decided they're only going to give us a 50% rebate. So yeah, of those $1,200, $1,250 fee, once you get your certificate in hand, 50% of those fees will be rebated to you up to $500 annually. So that's your little share of the USDA subsidies. But yeah, I really think that record keeping is a benefit for my operation. For me to be able, especially, in food, when FSMA came in, I was so far ahead of the game when those plans started coming, because I already had documentation to build on. I already had systems to adapt. And I think that because I have those records, I can review those annually to manage my business more efficiently, and that makes me a little bit more resilient. But one thing that strikes me about organic is I've never had an operator tell me, "Oh, I can't tell you that. That's intellectual property." I have had them say, "You know how much money I had to spend to learn this?" But we're about a community. We're here to share this information. You know, I'm a vegetable guy from the way back, but dude, that O grain listserv that comes out of Wisconsin, Dr. Aaron Silva, I learned so much from these guys, just them bantering about, just sharing, totally open. And again, I'm not here to say I know half of anything, but I stand on a network of these producers, these farmers, that if I'm out of my depth, I can fall back on them and ask these very pertinent questions that can help you. So yeah, we're here to help. OFA has a wealth of resources out there on their website, fact sheets, staff contacts, you know, all the templates for our organic systems plan. We've got our policies, the standards, transitional assistance, guidance. The USDA has a lot of good stuff out there too. They just started with this last 2018 Farm Bill, an Organic Integrity Learning Center. One thing that we're proud of, we on the education side got a contract to write their content about infrastructure, power infrastructure coming through your farm. So if you have one of these pipelines that here in the last 10 years in Ohio, we've had to deal with a number of natural gas pipelines going through certified organic farms. And we found ways to work with those energy companies to maintain the organic status of those farms. And we were able to write a curriculum for the Organic Integrity Learning Center. And that's just a recent feather in our cap. So please allow me to toot that horn for a minute. And then again, I get a lot of value from IOIA. They have a lot of resources out there about how to look at things from an organic perspective, at least an organic regulatory perspective. But you don't need to go through all those steps. You can just give us a call. We'll help. And here you are. Alicia is our certification program manager. Kate Pierre-Felice, she is our handling coordinator. And of course, here I am on the education side here to help with any questions. So at this point, I think, Jess, I'll hand it over to you for questions.
Yeah, we had a couple came in, and so somebody has asked, what is the labeling difference when we see all natural versus organic? And they go on to say, can all natural include food that are produced through a process such as chocolate or cheese?
All right, well, the label organic is a federal law codified in the Federal Register. Natural, hey, that's a fully unregulated term. Anyone can use that for anything. So yeah, I think it's pretty stark difference between the two. Organic needs to be reviewed every year. Natural could be anything you want it to be.
Okay. All right. There was one that came in about costs, and you had a slide, so they were ahead of that. So we got that one. There's been a lot of questions throughout the day today, and really in general in the maple industry, about acceptable cleaners for maple syrup collection and transfer equipment. Can you speak to the certified organic cleaners, and what if folks want to transition towards an organic label, what they should start to look for now in their acceptable cleaners and the sanitation side of things?
Okay, so cleaner. Again, it's important to define terms, and these are all defined in the NOP. So I'm going to say the word detergent instead of cleaner. So every detergent is approved for organic use as long as you follow it with a rinse step, clear water rinse. And sometimes you are required to actually have a strip test to show that there are no residues of that detergent left. So yeah, any cleaner pretty much you can use, but you're going to need to strip it off. But now we've got sanitizers. Now there are some sanitizers that are allowed for direct contact. And they're again listed in the standards in the 600s. But again, if you're certified through us, you're going to be getting a book from us of our approved products. And we vary at the end, we have crops, livestock, and then approved ingredients for handling. And at the end of that, we've got a section on cleaners. And then there's a section on sanitizers that we've reviewed. And then at the very last section is those that can be in direct contact, those that do not need a rinse step. So many of our dairy producers use that 34% hydrogen peroxide as their sanitizer. Yeah, the oxyblast, the potassium hydroxide, the premium peroxide, non-chlorine bleaches are allowed for food contact substances. So yeah, again, there's a lot of choices that you have out there, and we don't expect you to be the chemist. That's why we talked to Eileen. But Omri, they've got a searchable database, omri.org. You can put in sanitizer, cleaner, or just put in hydrogen peroxide, and 300 products will come up that has that as an active ingredient. So yes, there's always ask. If you have a product that you feel that you want to use, grab that label, send it. Claire, I don't have her name up here, but she's our material review specialist. And that's her job up in certification, is to tell you without a doubt, is this product allowed for use or is it not? Or is there a restriction? So yeah, we have those available for you. Just let us know what the specific application is, what you're trying to do. Like, is it your lines coming from your tree, or is it the evaporator itself? Is it your reverse osmosis system? So there's certain things that can be a little bit more appropriate for use. And as I said, these are the tools that we have. We don't have those quaternary ammonia tools in our toolbox as a certified organic. And many of our food safety folks, they want to see that durable sanitizer left on. So again, we have to work with other regulatory agencies on what they prescribe as safe. So yeah, we're here to help. Okay. We've got plenty of lists available, but let's dial it in to your specific need.
So another one just popped up, and I'm more familiar with this from my time in Iowa, but someone just asked, can I go organic in maple if my woods are next to a regular farming operation that they can't control, which is right next to their sugar maple trees?
Yeah, but again, like I say, when we ask for a map of your operation, we want to know what is in adjacent land use. And so on that border, you're going to disclose that that is a conventional operator. So now we're going to need that to be buffered. They're going to need to be a buffer zone. How big is that buffer zone? Well, that's not determined. This is one of those gray areas, right? The definition of buffer zone, that needs to be sufficient to prevent unintentional contamination of your organic production zone. So what does that mean? What is the vector? What is our actual risk? What are they doing on that neighbor? Are they dropping synthetic fertilizer? They injecting subsurface manure? Are they aerial spraying a pesticide? So again, what is the rational vector? And then what can we do as a buffer zone on our side? Typically, like I said, it's not defined anywhere, but nobody bats an eye at 25-foot buffer zone. If you got a 25-foot buffer zone, we're just going to walk right by it saying that's sufficient. Now, there can be situations where I've made the case that this 15 feet is a viable buffer zone to prevent my unintentional contamination, because I'm taking into aspects of topography. My ground's higher than my neighbors. There could be a hedgerow of 15-foot honeysuckle that's keeping out any potential drift. So again, yes, it's native to place. We can't have folks controlling what's outside their fence. So we've got to put a buffer zone on our side. How much is that? You're not tapping within the first or X number of feet from that fence. That's how I would get around it.